What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
Just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people. You want to get
Subscribe right now.
subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Call me that one more time, and I'll kick your ass.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is what Steven does. Steve likes to start controversy when there clearly is none. I think he's just jealous because my teeth are a hell of a lot whiter than his.
Yeah, and your freaking like apparatus, or whatever the hell goes in your mouth's got a brighter future than your golf game.
Okay, Stumbletron.
I might be a little bit drunk. There could be vodka in this bottle. You don't know.
Jesus, you're like not even finishing your sentences.
Look, you know what? We win some, we lose some, we try some, and we find some. That's how life goes, right?
Do we want to show the people the picture of me with my my Novolab mouthpiece?
I think you should just put it in right now.
How do I do it?
Just put it in.
Oh no, I'm not putting it in. I just
put it in your fucking mouth.
That sounds really bad. No,
not as bad as before Kay left for work today. I'm playing Call of Duty with some friends, and I go, bro, what the hell? This guy's camping in a corner, and the one time he chooses to leave, he comes in me.
That's like the like whenever they have like the football videos, it's just like he's just coming right in your face.
Dude, he's just coming in you, like coming on you. I'm like, all right, dude, like pause. I had the most pause moment of my life. I'm like, I never again want to try and make a ejaculation joke because that was the worst like timing ever. And she's on a phone call with her mother, and I'm like, it always happens during Call of Duty. It's like this is the worst time of the year because it's the intersection of like football fantasy playoffs, like work is like really in the heat of things with the holiday season. I've got the wedding coming up, and all within this, I gotta find time to play Call of Duty with my friends and grind camos like a schmuck. And I always manage to find myself saying stupid shit. And now I've got Johnny in my ear because the Fortnite's going back to the original maps. And that's happening the weekend of my wedding. So Johnny's like, I'm not going to do anything but play Fortnite the whole weekend. And I'm like, dude, don't you dare.
I mean, John, I love John. He is not the most reliable person.
Which is exactly why my wedding weekend, he's going to be spending the entire time in the exact same hotel room as me.
That's why you also gave him. Didn't you tell him like an earlier time, like 2 hours earlier or something, so he wouldn't be late?
You want to laugh? I actually sent out a note to all the guys like in my like groomsmen chat, and I'm like, guys, just so you know, the rehearsal dinner is here at 6:00, and then I put in giant bold letters, Johnny, it's 5:30 for you.
Oh my gosh!
And he's like, wait, so do I talk about 5:30 or 6? I'm like 5:30. 5:30. Like just, let's keep it simple. You're here at 5:30. Everyone else can get here at 6. That's how we're gonna roll with this. Like, all right,
cool. Well, before we jump into the show,
yeah,
you might want to just like send a camera with me because I'm going to Cincinnati in December. I'm gonna be there for 4 days, so it's gonna be a good time. So
yeah.
Just like send me with a camera.
Let's first work on getting you to like use your microphone, and then we can talk about getting you a camera.
I'm still waiting for my adapter for it. I haven't got.
Do I need to buy it for you? Am I your mother?
It's a company expense as far as I'm concerned. So,
meanwhile, I'm the one who paid for the fucking microphone.
Hey, Christmas is right around the corner.
It's been a fucking year.
It has been a year.
Where is it?
Excited. I'm so excited that you're getting married. You look so handsome. You look so happy. You have a different colored tank top on today. And the PGA Tour just basically changed itself for the rest of time, it sounds like, and just made it even that much more difficult to get a PGA Tour card or just to play in an event. So I think that's a pretty good segue. Let's get this.
That's a really good segue. Welcome in to Get in the Hole. Steve McAvoy, your hostess with the mostest, and joining me, of course, every week. Ben Pirro, who, like I said, his new Nova tooth whitening pod, whatever the fuck it really is, has a much brighter teeth than his golf future. We're coming to you live from the Underground, a part of Underground Sports Philadelphia's podcast network on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you can get a hold of his pearly whites and my gorgeous beard.
I think you kind of messed that up. You're supposed to say brighter future, not brighter teeth than my golf career. That didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think you just give it a rest because right now you're not really doing a great job right now.
Like I said, I am drunk, so I am totally cool with that. And that's going to be the excuse that I use, even though there's just water and Mio in my Gatorade bottle. We're bringing you the biggest news, analysis, and betting tips from across the PGA Tour and beyond. And of course, this show, our good friends at Tomahawk Shades are always behind our backs, bringing you the best small batch eyewear in the industry that you can go anywhere from the first hole to the 18th green. You can go to the mountain for the slopes. You can go to wherever, and you can rock your Tomahawk Shades at any time. Use code USP for 25% off your next order at tomahawkshades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app and browse their massive selection of eyewear ranging from any event or any game that you need. Tomahawk Shades has you covered. Tomahawkshades.com for 25% off with code USP. Ben, welcome in. Welcome back. Another good week. Unfortunately, though, not a great week with a massive movement happening in PGA Tour circles. You know, it's crazy because we just came off the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. We had Rafa Campos and Justin Lauer fighting for positions, both of which got their start in their career from starting out in Q school, having a grind, getting to the Web.com tour, the Korn Ferry Tour, finally fought their way to where they are now, only for the PGA Tour to turn around and tell those guys, and tell guys also like Wyndham Clark and Max Homa and other folks who had to grind their way to the top, that the next generation is going to have a much harder time. The PGA Tour has officially came out with a whole new slate of rule changes for 2025 and 2026. Those will be enacted at different points, but the horror and the nightmare that we've been thinking about for the last 2 weeks has finally come to fruition as the PGA Tour Policy Board unanimously decides to impose these rules. Ben, your take, your thoughts, how dramatic of a change is this going to bring to the tour? And for someone like you, where's the raw emotion right now?
At the end of the day, I mean, at this point, it's been kind of building for a while. Like we kind of knew, we had a feeling that this was going to happen. At least I did. I pretty much just assumed it was a foregone conclusion that it was going to be voted in favor, all the changes. So, look, I mean, it's basically you have to be top 100 in FedEx Cup points to keep your card. 101 to 125 is now conditional. So it used to be top 125 and then 126 to 150. That would give you your conditional status. So they're making it, they're making that more difficult. On top of that, if you're on the Korn Ferry Tour, it was top 30 in the money list would get their PGA Tour card. Now it's top 20, so they essentially took away a third, which I thought that was the most, I'm not going to say egregious, but that one I thought was kind of rough. If you really wanted to go back and make it to the top 25, like it used to be back in the day, I would have been fine with that. But at the end of the day, to eliminate a third of the potential of cards gained through the Korn Ferry Tour, I think that's absolute, as David Sampson likes to say on his show, horse hockey. I think it's crap. Some people might have an issue with the fact that it's only going to be top 5 now at Q School at final stage, not top 5 in ties. Look, I mean, you're looking at 1 or 2 guys. That's not going to make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. Now, for the player, it makes a big difference for sure. But in the grand scheme of things, like 1 or 2 guys, it doesn't make that much of a difference. The Monday qualifiers, it looks like there will still be a decent amount of them. And I assume that they'll still have the Mondays for the Korn Ferry Tour. Didn't really
Yeah.
say anything regarding Corn Ferry per se, but for the PGA Tour, there will be less Mondays and more limited spots available in some Corn Ferry events. And this all is depending on the field size, unfortunately. And so that really, for the Mini Tour Pro, that makes it a lot more difficult for sure. And it's already really hard. I mean, you go into a PGA Tour Monday qualifier, you probably have to shoot like today for the RSM. 65,
Crazy.
65 was the number to get into a playoff. And it was, I think, 6 guys. I think it was for 4.
Yeah, it was
7 guys for 4.
6 guys. I think like 7 or 8 playoff holes.
Yeah,
They
they
would
played a lot of holes. I know that course like the back of my hand, and so it's just think about it. Like you could shoot 65. You could shoot a really good round and knock it in for sure. It happens all the time, but now it's just going to be that much more difficult, and it just depends on what the field size is for the given event. And I understand why they want to. I understand why they want to do this from one aspect, which is guaranteeing the guys who do have a card adequate playing time starts. That I understand. Okay. I really don't think it's fair, though, that the players are bearing the brunt of this because the tour made some empty promises that they couldn't hold up.
Yeah.
That's really the tour's fault. At that point, you're the PGA Tour. If you weren't holding up your end of the bargain, you should have just been adding events. Adding secondary events. I think that would have been totally normal. And I thought that they could have done that with, when they were doing the elevated events, you could have made a secondary event for a lot of them. Now, some of them I think do have them, but most of them don't. The pace of play thing, you and I are on the same page about it, and we could discuss this till we're blue in the face. And until the two of us have just excruciating headaches. Which I have one right now, just thinking about it. Honestly, I do. It's the one rule in golf where you don't enforce it consistently. And it's in the rule book. Okay. And I've played numerous times, numerous events where it's one day they enforce it, the next day they don't, or vice versa. They don't enforce it the first day, and then it was an issue during the first round, so they enforce it for the second. And I think it would be so simple to, like, these are professional golfers. You're saying that you want the PGA Tour to be the pinnacle of golf. Well, it is the pinnacle of golf. It still is. Despite LIV, it's still the pinnacle of professional golf. Because of, yes, the money might be less, but the viewership, the sponsorships, it's still the pinnacle. The competition as well. That is the height of professional golf, being a PGA Tour member. Even if you do it for a year, that is one of the greatest accomplishments in all of sports. But to sit there and act like, well, we're having trouble finishing rounds. You're the best golfers in the world. The reason why you're not finishing rounds is because you're too slow.
Yeah.
It's not because of the field size. And I don't understand why they just don't have a person in each part of each hole, tee box, fairway, if it's a par 5, a layup potentially, on the green, and you're timing each player, and you're communicating over radio, or just create an app for volunteers or tour officials to use. And if you get a bad time, you put an X next to the player's name. The player gets 3 or whatever it is, they get a 1-stroke penalty. They get 3 more, they get another stroke penalty. I really think if you started throwing in strokes, because fines they don't really give a shit about.
Exactly.
Fines don't really make a dent in their wallet, depending on what it is. But at the end of the day, you start adding strokes. Adding a stroke is the difference between making and missing the cut. That's the difference between $18,000 and not making any money at all for the week. That is way more penalizing than just a $500 fine or whatever it is. And then also FedEx Cup points are up for grab as well. You also would lose FedEx Cup points. So as far as the pace of play goes, you guys are adults. You got to figure it out. Start playing faster. You know, you guys have generally play the same courses over and over every single year, with the exception of the rookies. I think you guys need to start holding yourselves more accountable and start playing a little bit faster. It's not that hard. Didn't you spit out a stat last week, Steve, how it takes them on average 18 minutes to play a hole?
Yeah.
That's complete bullshit. That should never happen. You are the best golfers in the world. I understand you get a ruling. That doesn't factor into your pace of play. If you have to have a ruling, at least it shouldn't. I get it. You're looking for a couple balls. You know, it might be difficult, whatever. Well, if you're looking for a couple balls, you only have 3 minutes now to look, which is not a lot of time. Okay. So even if you're looking for a couple balls, it really should make that much of a difference. And if it does, it probably takes you a hole or two to get back in position. So you guys are professionals. You got to figure it out. And because by taking away opportunities, you know, and I said this to you over text, I think you might have said it last week.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the NHL, they've expanded. The NBA, they want to expand. You know, Vegas, they're buying Vegas. The NHL has expanded into Seattle, and recently Seattle and Vegas. Major League Baseball, they're looking into Austin, Nashville. I think Portland is one as well. The NFL has been talking for years about adding a team in London, or even adding a team in San Antonio, you know, or adding a team wherever. This is and I understand it's not a big four sports organization. You're literally taking away talent. You know, no one is saying, you know, when the NHL added Vegas and then Seattle, no one was sitting there and saying, oh, well, there's more players there. It's going to be, you know, it's not going to be as talented because now we have more players in the league. No, that's not at all how it worked at all, actually. In fact, Vegas is one of the most well-run organizations in the NHL. They win a lot. And their talent is on full display. So why the PGA Tour, when they lost a bunch of talent, wants to take away more talent by limiting the amount of cards that they're giving, the amount of players on tour, is complete asinine. It's completely asinine.
So I've got, sorry.
Lastly, basically, like the higher you finish, I saw something in the letter. It was like the higher you finish in a tour event, you're going to get more FedEx Cup points. But if you finish like outside 7th or something, you're going to lose. You're going to win less FedEx Cup points. That's whatever. I mean, it just goes back to like the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. That's fine. If that's your prerogative to take away, you know, FedEx Cup points for someone who finishes 8th. I mean, if you really want to be that stingy about it, go for it. I would have loved to have seen with the new model that they're going to implement with the FedEx Cup points, where Rory would have been actually this past year, just saying, because he didn't play well at all until he won his Mickey Mouse title at the Zurich. But I digress. That's all I have to say. Have at it.
Yeah. So actually, it's interesting because I didn't think these rule changes were as drastic as they were proposed. Of course, obviously the tour card number was exactly what was advertised. The field sizes were a little bit variable. In terms of like points, whatever, cool. My 3 takeaways here. One, as it pertains to the field size, I agree with you we talked about it last week with the whole pace of play thing, how slow play has been a monster on tour for years, and we complain about daylight. And one of the things that was cited in the letter to players was that, oh yeah, like we're going to reduce field sizes to 132 or 120 men, depending on factors like daylight, time of season. So like we're going to see when you're playing in, let's call it like the John Deere later on in the year, the field's not going to be as big because sunlight dwindles at that point in the season, or like in March at the Arnold Palmer. Well, bad example being that it's a signature event, but like the Farmers not going to have as much sunlight, so smaller field event. With that being said, obviously Monday cues do change. Field sizes are going to drop from 156 to 144, where then you'll have 4 Monday queue spots. 132 man fields would have 2, 120 would have none. They did say they'll keep the full 156 in the situation that a course holds multiple golf courses, but after looking at the schedule, with the exception of Pebble Beach, which is already a signature event to begin with, there's only one other event that does that, and it's the Amex. I believe the Cognizant does as well, but that's also going to be a signature event. So when you look at it from that lens, it doesn't really do anything. At this point, we're limiting tour cards. We're limiting the field sizes. We're limiting the ability for players to earn tour cards and earn conditional status and be able to just get their name out there and be able to perform in a forum that they have been playing their entire life to do. The one thing that I actually want to harp on that I didn't bring up last week was this slow pace of play and how all this could have been avoided. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2018, I believe, the European Tour and Keith Pelly, the head of the European Tour, introduced a shot clock. And multiple tour players were in it. At the time, Chase Koepka was playing in the event. Billy Horschel said that he loved it. Miguel Angel Jimenez also commented on it. I'm reading an article right now from golf.com. They're saying how 40-second clock, if it hits 0 and you haven't hit yet, you lose a stroke. As simple as that. They kept it right on the money. There were times that balls were hit at 0 seconds. If you're the first player to hit in a group, you get an extra 10 seconds to obviously get there and set up. Rounds, listen to this, went down from 4 hours and 47 minutes on average to 4 hours and 13 minutes. Scores also subsequently went down. The final round at that event the year prior had an average of a scoring average of 72.96. The final round of that year was a 72.36. So it had fallen about 2/3 of a stroke. 5 3-sums played Thursday's round in under 4 hours, including multiple PGA Tour groups. Billy Horschel said it was great. I'm a quick player. I enjoy getting out of here, getting in and out in 4 hours. It's a great feeling. So the fact that the shot clock worked, it got rave reviews in the European Tour. Why can't we bring it back? Why can't we hire and bring more jobs to the PGA of America, to the PGA Tour, to local places, even get more volunteers, get more local action involved in order to carry a shot clock, manage scores, follow the groups. Like, we already do this on a weekly basis. Why can't we dig deeper into this? I was explaining to Kay the whole thing because she didn't understand what the rulings were and how pivotal they were. And she was like, it's kind of lame. Doesn't golf want to get bigger? Isn't golf I'm trying to find the words she used exactly. She goes, isn't golf not a popular sport? And I'm like, well, it is and it's not. Obviously, it has the ability to be a popular sport recreationally, and it has become one. But she's right. Like, viewership is down. People don't want to watch super long rounds. Maybe some people don't want to see the Matthew Pavons of the world at top of the leaderboard. In that case, don't watch the fall series where it's getting the highest ratings ever on a year-to-year basis. I think it's amazing how, like you said, it's the one sport in the world that's actually trying to limit its participation and its popularity, whereas the WNBA, which loses $40 million on average a year, is trying to expand. The PWHL, which is the new premier women's hockey league, lost, I think, $81 million in its first year. They're going to expand to 4 more cities by the end of next year. Why is every other sports league, I think even the MLS, had 16 teams and now 34 teams? Why is everyone else expanding and all of a sudden the PGA Tour feels the need to decrease? I'm telling you, it's because those guys, and I was telling Kay this, in the top 100, the Wyndham Clarks and the Max Homas and the Adam Scotts and Peter Malnati's even, who are a part of this board, including Patrick Cantlay and Jordan Spieth and the like, are afraid of good competition coming in and taking away their opportunities. But it's already been established for years that conditional status doesn't yield you starts. Even full-time status on tour doesn't always yield you starts when you're in the back quarter of the people that are there. There are going to be guys who get sponsor exemptions over you. There have been guys who I've seen every single week who end up like Kevin Tway is a great example. You see him every week. He's like the 8th alternate, but he's got a tour card. The guy never plays at events. Like it's bullshit that we're making these excuses to make up for past mistakes when in reality you can just you can limit the cards being given out, but just give equal opportunity to the people who need it. The one rule though that actually was really good that I did like was top 10 players, including amateurs, not top 10 professionals, get access into the next event, which is the Luke Clanton rule, which if you remember from earlier on last year, Luke Clanton, Florida State sophomore, I believe it was, amateur player, finished top 10 on an event, got into the next event off of a sponsor exemption, but now has the opportunity to do it again. Nick Dunlap would have gotten the opportunity as well after winning the Amex, but then didn't. And so this rule at the very least is going to give guys who are lower level players, Corn Ferry Tour players, regardless of whether they have a tour card or not, they can get into an event and they place high enough in the top 10, they could at the very least play another week on the PGA Tour and have another shot to earn a tour card at that point. So most of the rules suck. Some of the rules are good. They thankfully will not take place until 2026. So there is still time to reverse this. Who knows? Knock on wood. Maybe Jay Monahan falls ill and doesn't find himself back on the tour grind. Not saying he dies. That'd be horrible. I would not wish that on anybody. But if there's a hopeful case that Jay Monahan could not be in his seat in the next 2 years and someone can actually come in and reform these things and make it applicable, that we can just have positive reform and not have these guys who are ultimately afraid of the younger generation getting in the way of their success. It's embarrassing. A lot of words being spelt on both sides. Let's try and...
Yeah, okay. Let me... okay, whoa, you said a lot.
Relax.
Said a lot.
So did you.
Yeah, I did. But you wished ill will on someone. Okay, anyway. So here's the deal. I think that this actually encapsulates what golf is, or what golf historically has been. A snobby elitist sport.
Well said.
And that's exactly what this move is. It's snobby. It favors the elite in the sport. That's really how it is, unfortunately. I do like the Luke Clanton rule. I think that's great. But that is such an anomaly that doesn't happen very often. I mean, I'm trying to think of guys like obviously yes, like Luke Clanton that would have applied to him. The kid that won the Amex this year and then won the Bear. Nick Dunlap.
But even then, Dunlap after winning the Amex didn't get into the next week's event.
I know. No, I know.
So the rule, the rule, I understand how it's so hard to come by, and it is an anomaly, but at the very least, it's something. Hopefully,
it's something. Oh, yay! It's something. That's awesome. That's great. They threw us half a bone. That's fantastic. I'm trying to think of actual tour pros that this is really applied to. I mean, you literally could use one hand. Patrick Reed. He's one of them, but he was a tour pro. So he was a pro, so it didn't matter. I think Andrew Loop, I think that might have applied to him one year in the Zurich. I think as a Monday he got in. I think he was fighting to be in the top 10. This was years ago. So regardless, I think I don't believe that that they are afraid to play. I genuinely do not believe that, because I don't believe you can be at the pinnacle of the sport in any sport if you're afraid of competition. And I think something that, like you'll hear about if there's, a quarterback, like I remember when the 49ers, they were going to start Trey Lance. It was his team, and they couldn't find a trade partner for Jimmy G. So they brought back Jimmy G. And reportedly Trey Lance was all pissy, and he wasn't happy. it wasn't because I don't believe it was because he was scared of competition. It was because he felt almost disrespected based on his, because he feels that he's at a higher level. Clearly he isn't. He's not very good. But regardless, as an athlete, there's a level of ego involved there. And it's not because they're scared to play. It's because you have an ego and you have your own view on who you are and how you play. Because remember, these are the most confident people in the world. It takes a high level of confidence to play at the highest level of any sport. It does, because you're being judged by everyone. And when you're able to do that, you're able to block out the noise, which is something that really not let stupid things that are said to you or done to you on tour bother you. It takes an incredibly confident person. I just think it's the elite PGA Tour players' way of just kind of giving the middle finger, and to the guys who are not elite. Because I truly believe if LIV was not a thing, we would not be having this discussion. I genuinely do not think we'd be having this discussion, but it was the perfect opportunity for guys in a position of power on the PGA Tour who are elite to put the hammer down, because they have all the power over Jay Monahan, because he's spineless, he doesn't have a backbone, and he's not a leader of men. He's not capable of being in the position that he's in. I truly believe, though, if LIV were not a thing, the players would never have had this much power to get this done. There's no way. Maybe it would have been discussed, but this is to cut down. You're losing whatever 1/6 is that percentage. What is it? 18%? Maybe? Yeah, 18%. You're losing 18% of the PGA Tour. That's absolutely insane. That is a big number. So that's what I have to say.
But the worst part is that the golf purist is going to be mad about this, but the problem is this is going to go to the wayside and people aren't going to care enough about it because let's be honest, you go into a week and you might not know who Rafa Campos is. You might not know who Andrew Novak is or Will McGirt. Like, there are very few people who have this like cult following and fits in this category, the Joel Damons, the Harry Higgs of the world. It's very few far between. Michael Kim is now starting to kind of grow that on social. But for the most part, and I'll tell a story that I actually experienced, I follow this and I sympathized to the players that are in this category. There was my whole life I wanted to be a journalist, right? I applied for a job and I actually knew somebody who worked at the New York Post, and I reached out to him. I would say, "Hey, look, like I'm trying to get this job. Can you give me like tips?" He was in his 60s, still works there. I'm not going to name names, of course, but he talked to me and he was like, "Yeah, look, like I can't help you as much as you want me to." And I'm like, "Well, why is that?" I'm just looking for like a mentor. And he goes, "Because you expressing interest, and I get 20 emails a day of people who want to be mentored and taught, hey, how can I write for the Post? How can I work for the Post? At some point, I'm going to become dispensable because they can pay a 21-year-old half the money that I make and do as good of a job." And I'm like, I mean, fair, but like, so you're going to completely shut me out in order to maintain your career when you're already going to retire soon. And he goes, "Well, that's just how life is, kid." Like, imagine Patrick Cantlay going to a 24-year-old who like is like in that like 125 range and is like, "Look, dude, you're never gonna fit in here. It's the boys' club all over again. You're never gonna be able to find your footing on this tour because we're gonna make sure that we can maintain ourselves at the top forever." Someone like Adam Scott, maybe he's a part of this, maybe he's not, but he's on the policy board. Or even like Webb Simpson, both in their mid-40s. On the back legs of their career before they end up going to the Champions Tour, trying to figure out, hey, can I stay relevant for another 5 more years? Or is the next young 24-year-old, 25-year-old, 26-year-old going to come in and knock me out. Or is guys like Ricky Fowler or even Jordan Spieth, who hover around the 70, 80, even 100 range, who have not had really good years, but at one point were really successful and are a part of this machine and this oligarch of guys who run the PGA Tour, say to themselves, hey, this is great. I can maintain my status. I have less competition. Granted, it's kind of a double-edged sword because they fall out of the top 100 all of a sudden. Now they're on the block. But you're taking away from the opportunity, which is the biggest problem here. And there's guys like Peter Malnati who, for 5 years, had to fight his way onto the PGA Tour and had to go through fall events to try and earn his card, and had to grind his way out for a while throughout his 20s. Like, where's his opinion here as somebody on the PGA Tour policy board? Well, these are unanimous decisions being made. Where's the pushback? Who's pushing back? Who's in the room debating this with these guys? Is anybody? I just want accountability at this point. And that's the most important part in all of this, is that we're never going to get the accountability because it all comes down to the oligarch, the small core of 50 to 70 people who we see in the playoffs every year, who is running the show. And they're not going to let anybody outside of that circle deny them access. And it's sad.
That it is very sad. I mean, look, the MLB implemented the pitch clock, and no one really noticed that much of a difference in the performance of the games. It was a lot quicker going to the games, as watching it in person. Like, wow, it's already over.
Yeah.
The players got used to it pretty quickly. I don't know why they just don't bring back the shot clock, at least, and implement it on the PGA Tour. But it's.
I mean, hey, look
who's running the show.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, look, the NBA wanted to speed up games. They didn't have a shot clock for 25 years.
I mean,
what happened? The NBA is one of the biggest sports brands in the world.
I'm going to be easily the most hated player on the PGA Tour. They're going to hate me.
Ben's going to be the guy the second that thing hits zero. It's like the guy watching TV, waiting for, watching the snap count go. And the second it goes zero, he's sitting on his couch going, flag, flag, flag.
No, I mean, everything that I say about the people in charge with that tour, they're gonna hate me.
Yeah, but you know what? You're speaking the truth.
No, I do speak the truth, and I think fans will enjoy that, because who doesn't like someone who says what's on their mind and is candid about their opinions and likes to call out how stupid people can be, Regardless, we have a lot to cover. So,
Ben, you are the perfect anti-hero.
You think so?
You are the Deadpool that the PGA Tour needs.
I've never even seen Deadpool, but
oh my God, really?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Your homework tonight is going to be to watch Deadpool.
Well, okay. Could you at least explain it? Don't leave me on a clip. How am I like the Deadpool?
So Deadpool was a member of the X-Men, and they created a whole story about Deadpool as it's the first rated R Marvel movie, right? And they created it because Deadpool was a comedian and he was funny and he cursed and he wasn't like the other X-Men. The X-Men were all polished and good people, and Deadpool just wasn't like that. And so the whole movie, the first movie, if you watch it, you'll enjoy it. He's very much just fuck the X-Men, I'm gonna do my own shit. And he's just really funny and he breaks the fourth wall, and it's a very different style of Marvel movie that just makes you perfect for this role. Wow. He doesn't want to be the superhero that everyone adores. He wants to just be him.
Yeah, I enjoy being myself. It's gotten me a long way in my life. So makes people respect you. You don't need to be liked. You don't want to be liked. You want to be respected. There's a difference there. That's my wisdom for you, for all our listeners. You don't want to be liked. You want to be respected.
Is Rory McIlroy liked? Is Rory McIlroy respected?
I don't think a lot. I would venture to say not a lot of guys like or respect him. But
perfect, because that's what we're talking about next. That right there. So let's segue. So Rory McIlroy won his 6th race to Dubai. Listen to this shit. I find this so funny, and I cannot wait, because I feel like every single time now I bring up Rory McIlroy, it's specifically to try and ruin his life. Rory McIlroy won his 6th race to Dubai. He's won 3 straight the last 3 years. The number of events that he has played in order to qualify for the DP World Tour Championship and win the event, not including co-sanctioned events between the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, namely the Scottish Open and the Open Championship. Your requirement to be a member of the European Tour is to play in 4 events that are not the majors. He played in 6 events in 2024, all of which came in 2023 during the fall series. He played 4 events in 2023, also came all in the fall. He played 7 in 2022. 6 of the 7 came in the fall. So he played basically the minimum. He qualified for the race to Dubai. Somehow, in those 6, 4, and 7 events, finished in the top 15 of the leaderboard. And in 2 of the instances, didn't even win the final, but still managed to win the overall trophy. This might be a bigger Mickey Mouse trophy for Rory McIlroy than winning the Zurich with Shane Lowry this past year. Or it also shows to the lack of, I don't want to say lack of talent, because there's a lot of talent on the European Tour, but the lack of restrictions and eligibility criteria that should be heightened in order to qualify for the race to Dubai, because apparently you only need 4 events in order to even qualify for it.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. It's the lack of criteria. Yeah, really, it's the lack of criteria, the lack of restrictions. To only have to play 4 events the whole year, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't say that it's a Mickey Mouse win. I mean, it is the race to Dubai. That's a very prestigious, that's a huge honor, but they need to change up what they're doing. If someone in 2 years plays a total of 10 events, 2 separate seasons, plays 10 events, and they win, you said he won both, correct?
He's won the last 3.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. You probably need to, DP World Tour, you should probably look into your criteria. I mean, look, I don't think it makes his title illegitimate. I don't, because he won it fair and square. If you're following the rules, which he is, and you win, hats off to you. Follow the rules however you can. Okay, he's probably much more strategic now with his playing schedule. And so he's probably picking his event. There's probably a purpose behind each event that he's picking, because he's probably sitting there and he's probably like, I know I can play well there. I know I can play well there. And they probably offer the most points or the most money, however they end up doing it on the DP World Tour. I think is it a points thing or is it a money thing?
It's both.
Both. Okay. Well, he probably goes to the events where he knows he can play well, where there's the most upside as far as for monetary compensation and points earnings, points winning. So I really would say this is a problem that's up to the DP World Tour. There's nothing to do with Rory having an inadequate win, because a win's a win. It's not I don't want us to get, like, people used to use this with the word swag. Like, people would overuse the term swag. Like, this guy has swag. This person has swag. Then everyone had swag. People overuse that a lot. Let's just not overuse the term Mickey Mouse title. Like, Rory McIlroy, his win with Shane Lowry at the Zurich, that's a Mickey Mouse win. That is 100% a Mickey Mouse win. Winning the race to Dubai, I don't think there's any way you can say it's a Mickey Mouse win. That's one of the most prestigious events in the game.
My only argument against the entirety of the situation is that Rory McIlroy, to put into perspective too, like the kind of numbers that Rory put up, and like to no fault of Rory, of course, he placed really well in all of the events that he played. If you go through his score log of what he finished at those events, He won twice. He finished twice, 3 times. Going into the event, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 3s in his 6 events. And then obviously he won. He finished with 7,000 points. The second place player was Rasmus Højgaard, who had 4,000, and Højgaard played in double the events. And that doesn't include the majors. He also that factors into the number. Thurston Lawrence had 3,300. Tyrrell Hatton, who played 10 times, had 2,700. There was more PGA Tour players, full-time PGA Tour players, in the top 25 than there were DP World Tour players. And all of them played less than 15 events on the year, and 4 of those events include the majors. So they played 11 events at the very most, and also one of them being the Scottish, so really 10 co-sanctioned events for the entirety of the year, and they all finished higher than most of the DP World Tour usuals. For example, right, like Robert McIntyre plays a half and half schedule. He finished 9th overall. Nikolai Højgaard also plays a mixed batch, played 28 events, finished 11th. Guys who play almost full-time. Torbjorn Olesen played 16 events, he finished 13th. Anton Rosner from France finished 15th. He played 26 events. So I do think, I'm not going to call it a Mickey Mouse win. You're right. Like I said, I spoke wrong. It is a huge honor. But the fact that he's won 6 of them, and 3 of them have come in instances where he didn't have to play insane field events in order to qualify. He played the Dubai Invitational, the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. He of course, played the Irish Open. He played the BMW PGA, the Alfred Dunhill, Abu Dhabi HSBC. Like, these are all the big-time events. But clearly, the criteria in order to qualify should be catered more towards guys who play full-time on the DP World Tour, not for guys who go in, play 4 events, and then just breeze their way in to the race to Dubai. I think it's unfair to everybody else. And I don't mean to be a guy who's trying to push equality and equity here, because, you know what, like, life's rough, play better. But there seems to be something a little bit off when you have more full-time PGA Tour players qualifying for the race to Dubai than you have guys who are actually grinding the European Tour full-time. I could be wrong, though.
I just think they need to reevaluate the criteria. It's too few events.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. It's too few events. I mean, look, you have guys, think about guys who do half and half, like Robert McIntyre.
Yeah.
That is so hard. That is so hard on you physically. You're going between Europe and the United States constantly at that point. Like, that is unimaginable. It really is. Like, I cannot imagine. I would be exhausted. Okay? I would have no time to go to the gym, ever. I would go insane. I think that because you have the Scottish Open and because you have the 4 majors, that factors in. And so really, that you're really only required 9 events if you factor in the majors and the Scottish Open. Bump it up to 12. Make it a dozen events. Seriously. Make it like, what's the PGA Tour? Is it 14 that you're required to play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make it a dozen. All right. You know that guys like to split time. You know the PGA Tour is the creme de la creme, right? It's a good one.
Good word.
And but so make it 12. Make it just below the PGA Tour. Okay. Now, I'm saying, when I say 12, I do mean that includes the 4 majors and the Genesis Scottish Open. So really, that would be 7 then.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. 4, that's like ridiculous.
Agreed.
You could just spend a month over there. That's it.
Exactly. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about gears. One of the really cool things that that's been popping up recently, I saw a tweet from a local gearhead who was talking about the phenomenon that is mallet putting now on the PGA Tour. Quick thing before we head to break. I know you play with the Scotty. You use a blade. I want to jot down a couple of things that I wrote going into this. So Nelly Korda won her 7th event this year, which is like unforeseen in modern golf. she did it all while playing with a Mallet putter. NB Park, probably one of the greatest putters ever, PGA or LPGA, sported a Mallet putter her entire career. Scotty Scheffler, when he won the Arnold Palmer this year, switched from a blade to a Mallet, as did Brooks Koepka, and both went absolutely off on their respective tours. Of course, Scotty won 6 times, Brooks won twice. Xander Schauffele made the change to a Mallet putter, won his first 2 majors, and made the switch 2 weeks prior to his first major victory at the PGA. On top of also, if you remember Ricky Fowler, Wyndham Clark, when they got into the jailbird putter, also a Mallet change from the blade has gone really well. They say that if you want to win on tour now, you got to go with a Mallet putter. LIVGolf's gotten really big sporting Mallet putters. You see a lot more players switching to that. As a blade player and as a guy who's always trying to improve, what's your differences that you see between the blade and the Mallet? Would you switch to a Mallet? Would you encourage people to go either way? Why are you playing a blade, and what's the benefits to either one, or even the cons for that matter?
Okay, so really the big difference is it comes down to toe hang or face balance. Okay, and so mallets generally, I believe it's so. When you use a blade putter, generally you're going to have more of an arc to your stroke, okay? Because it's a toe hang putter, so the putter face is going to open and close. Okay, that's how it works. And so I believe personally that, like the full swing, that everything works in an arc, okay? And so that's why I prefer something more like a blade, because it allows the toe to open and close, and blades are more. You see people who putt with blade putters, they have more of an arc stroke, okay? Whereas someone with a Mallet putter, because it's face balance, it's more of a straight back, straight through, because the toe isn't opening and closing like a. Now it does a little bit, obviously, yes, because you're controlling it with your wrists. You control the face with your wrists, but overall, it's a much more straight back, straight through stroke. Mallet putters, I think are a little bit more forgiving. I think the off center hits are not as. I'm trying to think. The off center hits aren't as penalizing with a Mallet putter. But at the end of the day, for me, I prefer to use a blade. Historically, the best putters have used blades. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I like my stroke. I like my blade. I like how it looks. I don't really like the look of a Mallet. And I've also, historically, I've had a lot of trouble with my speed control with mallets. I have putted with mallets before. I putted with a Mallet when I was in college for a little while. I think my first 2 years, I want to say. Definitely my first year for sure. I'd never thought my speed control was any good with a Mallet. And so I always felt like they were too bulky. It's funny though, like I have the Mallet here, my Scotty Mallet, and like it actually feels better off the face, and like the sound, it makes a good sound. But I never had good speed control with it, really. I never really did. I don't know why. Maybe because the weighting is a little bit different. But then again, I mean, I have a heavier blade putter. I have 20-ounce weights in both the heel and the toe.
Yeah.
Normally you'd see probably 5 or 10. So I don't know. Tiger Woods is the greatest putter to ever live, and he uses a blade personally. So personally, I think it's really just a preference. It really is. It comes down to what can you line up well, what do you hit the most solid, what do you like looking at. But really, the most important thing is the performance. And if the blade performs better for you, then go with the blade. The Mallet performs better, go with the Mallet. I think it's really not that simple. It's really that simple, because at the end of the day, when I cracked my driver, I had to switch driver heads. They didn't make the AI, whatever it was, the AI. No, not the AI. They didn't make the Paradigm anymore. So I think I had to use the AI Smoke. And so I looked at the AI Smoke and I'm like, I don't like how this looks. I don't like how it sounds. Well, guess what? I got used to both of them. Okay. The most important thing though is the performance. Okay. The performance of the club. And for me personally, the blade performs better.
I know obviously like guys are tied to brands. Do you think it's any coincidence that Scotty Cameron's gotten so big because all the guys who are notorious for winning. The Brooks Koepkas, Tiger Woods is all or even Scottie Scheffler for a time, all sported Scotties, or is that just like a coincidence that just like who you're branded with, you end up playing those kind of putters?
Well, the thing to understand regarding Scotty Cameron's, the Scotty Cameron putter that you buy at the PGA Tour Superstore is not the same Scotty Cameron putter that you probably see on tour.
Yeah.
The metal is completely different. So the metal that Tiger used, so the putter that Tiger still uses to this day, that metal is a much softer metal, okay, than one that you'd find, than what I use. Okay. So really what those guys are using, most players, I don't know how it works with Scotty Cameron in particular. I know because he's with Titleist. I think, let me put it this way. Tiger's with Nike, and now he's with TaylorMade, but he still reps the Scotty Cameron putter. Brooks Koepka actually didn't even have a sponsor for clubs and used Scotty Cameron. But other guys like Adam Scott, Titleist guy, he uses Scotty Cameron putter. Just like how Jason Day's a TaylorMade guy, he uses a TaylorMade putter. A lot of that comes down to your contract.
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys end up having, and I hope this is answering your question, but basically, depending on what contract you have, some guys have bag contracts, and so basically they end up having the bag. Like, so if you have a bag contract with Callaway, you have the bag, and then you have the driver.
Yeah.
And you whatever the fuck you want after that. Other guys have 11 club contracts, like Zach Johnson. I believe actually he had a 12 club contract with PXG. I think he still does. And so he was using a Seymour putter and then a TaylorMade like Rocket Balls 3-wood or something, or like it was some TaylorMade
RVZ. Wow, classic.
like some TaylorMade. I think I'm butchering that, but it was a TaylorMade 3-wood.
Yeah.
And so per his contract, because I can say this confidently now, he has not been the same player since he left Titleist. He just hasn't been. And he always had issues with the PXG driver. And I looked at someone close to him and I said, why doesn't he just use another driver? And that person close to him said, he has a 12 club contract. He's like, so he's got the TaylorMade 3-wood and the Seymour putter. He's like, TaylorMade 3-woods are much more difficult to get fit for than drivers, which is true.
Yeah.
But he was stuck. So basically, a lot of times, though, it depends on who you're with. It also depends on your contract. And so I'm assuming Tiger must have had, so, it must have been like, hey, you're going to be Nike through the bag. And well, they're like, we'll give you one free club.
Yeah.
Like we'll give you one club to work with, or you can just not have anybody sponsor you, like Koepka did for a while.
Yeah, and even Brooks Koepka, he had a 12 club contract, but he would never get rid of his. He had one Nike club, and then obviously kept his Scotty forever, even when he signed with Strixon in Cleveland. So, like, yeah, obviously that makes sense, and I know like, Scotty used the Scotty, while also with TaylorMade now has obviously moved over to the Spider. I know John Rahm for a hot bit used. He had a different club that wasn't. Oh, he had a TaylorMade putter even when he joined on with Callaway and Odyssey, but then that quickly changed. But I think it's always funny to see like how like Scotty Cameron has become the gold standard, and not everybody is sporting it. Obviously, of course, because of contracts, but also could it be because they simply have the absolute best? We're gonna take a short break. On the other side, we have our shout out to the week, and of course, we have one final week to get it all right. The RSM Classic kicks off the end of the fall swing and the beginning of the holiday season before we get so close to Kapalua and Hawaii come January. Don't go anywhere, folks. This is the Get in the Hole podcast. Me and Ben will be right back. We'll see you in a hot bit.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides unique designs and high-quality clothing from t-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
Welcome back into Get in the Hole. Our shout outs of the week are brought to you by Acorn Hills, who's changing clothing through conservation. Started out of a dorm room in Western Pennsylvania, Acorn Hills is dedicated to supporting environmental efforts by offering biodegradable clothing tags and packaging, recycled materials, and for every dollar spent, the National Forest Foundation will plant a seedling to promote forestation across our great land. Be sure to use code GITH15 for 15% off your next order at acornhills.co. and look your best from the ground up. Ben, our shouts of the week are quite a illustrious grouping here.
Real quick, I want to shout out my sister, Allie Pirro. She sent me this thing on Instagram. She thought it was so funny. She told me to watch it, so I started watching it during the break. Quite possibly one of the dumbest reels I've ever been sent.
Do you want to share the reel to the masses?
It's really stupid. It's like these two people like getting engaged in like some scenic area, and then it's just like this big woman just like shitting on them. Like it's like the dumbest thing ever.
This big woman. Our first shout out starts off with Sunday Red. I know you're a big Tiger Woods or Tiger golf shoe guy. They're actually releasing their first golf shoe on December 4th. Are you interested in it?
To be honest, I haven't even looked at it.
They haven't released a photo of it. It's just a silhouette as of right now.
Me personally, because he's had so many injuries, I'm going to wait and see if he continues to have foot problems. Because if he doesn't, that means it's the real deal. And it's probably going to be worth the price too, because you know it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
You know, I saw actually Sunday Red is selling like rope hats for like $40, and I actually might buy one. It's the only thing that's like relatively affordable on his entire like line of clothing. It's like actually insane. I don't know if you've been keeping up with Bryson DeChambeau and what he's been doing.
I thought we were alternating.
I was gonna let you do the next two.
No, we alternate, bro.
I'm sorry. Do you want to do the next one, Ben?
Yeah, as long as you let me do the last one.
Fine.
All right. The new social media interest in golf comes by way of Bryson DeChambeau, who is trying to make an ace over his glass house. We're a week in. How long will it take, Steve? By the way, a beautiful house.
It's a gorgeous house, but you know what they say? People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones or hit golf balls. Although I will say, if there's one person that I do trust to at least get it over the house, it would be Bryson. Actually, the seventh day, I'm not sure if you saw the video. He had a shot that landed 6 inches right, 6 inches left, and basically bounced into the cup and bounced out. I'm pretty sure it was so freaking close. Came up like 2 inches short. I hope it's like Jersey Jerry when he when on Barstool was like, "We'll give you like you live in a golf simulator until you can make a hole in one on 7 at Pebble," and it took him like 2,700 shots. I think he'll get it sooner than later, but I hope this goes on for a long time, because when you look at the number of guys who make holes in one at least or aces on the PGA Tour, the number is actually a little bit surprising. You actually get about one a week on average, oddly enough, which I think is really fascinating because we don't talk about that enough, like how hard it is for the common man to do that. But for tour pros in a 140-ish man field, you have one a week. Kind of cool.
No,
how long do you think?
What's that?
How long do you think, if any more than a couple days?
I think it'll probably take about 2 weeks. I'd say day 14.
How many aces do you have?
2.
Do you know exactly where?
Do I know exactly where?
I would assume yes.
Yeah, so the first one, I was in high school. I was playing a practice round at this course called Black Bear. Ironically enough, that's actually the course that I won my first event as a professional at. Wow. But I was playing by myself in a practice round. It was like the wind was blowing like probably 30 miles an hour. and I hit just like this little chip knockdown 9 from like 120. And I was like, I just remember I was like, that looks good. And I was like, I hit next to the pin. I was like, that might go in. And I was like, oh shit, it's in. And that was literally my reaction. I went and I got the ball. I teed it up on the next hole. Tried to hit it over these houses because it was par 5. You could hit like driver wedge into. Hit into someone's backyard. Never found the ball again. And then the second one.
It's a horrible story for your first ever hole-in-one.
I know. I felt like really
heart that shit forever. God.
Yeah, and then my second one was much more fun. It was a practice round at Furman's tournament, but it was about a month in advance. We decided it was like our spring break, and so we decided to go up, and because we were playing, I think West Virginia's tournament. I think it was West Virginia's tournament. But we stopped in South Carolina first to play Furman's course. I had played there before, so I knew it pretty well. And I was on, I'm trying to think of 10, 11, 12. 14 is a par 3. And I hit like this hold off 5-iron from probably like 210. And I hit the snot out of this ball. I mean, it was one of the purest shots I think I've probably ever hit. And my teammate, Brian Jennings, it was myself, Brian Jennings, I think Jack Karakoff was with me in the group. And my college coach and our strength coach he was with us too. They were up by the green. And the ball's like mid-flight, just left of the pin. And Brian just goes, go in. And like normally like you just say that just to like because it's a good shot. It hits and it kicks a little bit right, which I think the slope there is actually right to left. So it kicks a little bit right and it's rolling and we're watching it roll. And we watched it go in, a 5-iron from like 210 or 220. And we went absolutely fucking bananas. I mean, literally, it was like we went nuts. Brian was basically jumping on top of me. My shirt was untucked. My chain was I had a chain on at the time. It was bouncing everywhere. It was awesome. And then Coach French, the strength coach at the time, he's not a golfer. He goes, so he made it all the way from over there to all the way over there. And my coach was like, yeah. I have the video actually that my coach took because he asked for a video. I had to wear a mask because it was during COVID. I had to wear a mask because it was COVID. But yeah, those are my 2 hole-in-ones.
Hold on. So you wore a mask during the round?
No, I had to put him. I don't think I can get in trouble for this now. But
it's for 4 years, dude. Come on.
McCants isn't coach there anymore. None of us are even there anymore. So who gives a shit? We were supposed to be wearing masks, I think, technically, and so he told me to put a mask on when I went to pick the ball up out of the hole and when I walked towards the camera. So I was outside and I had to have a mask on. It was like 85 degrees.
Oh, dude, that's absolutely
it was the dumbest fucking rule ever.
Oh God, that's making me think how awful that actually is. Let's do some happy birthday shout outs. This week, Max Homa tomorrow and Mac Hughes on Saturday. Mac Hughes, of course, will be tearing it up at the RSM. Honestly, if you did a match right now between Max Homa and Mac Hughes, I think Mac Hughes would actually win. With how well Max played compared to Max Homa over the last 2 months.
Yes.
So that's a pretty good one. I'll take the second to last one before you pick up the last one because I know you're intrigued by that. We mentioned it earlier, but shout out to Nelly Corda. 7th win on the LPGA Tour this year. Unprecedented win for her. Obviously had a 6-win streak earlier in the year. Feels like forever ago, back in March when Scotty Scheffler was also on a dominant tear and then won this week at the Annika. Actually, listen to this. Going into 10 on Sunday, she had under an 8% chance to win the event. She went on to birdie 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, claimed the lead, had a 90% chance to win, and ended up taking home the title after a crucial bogey to one of her opponents. An absolute insane run for Nelly Corda. 7 wins in the year and easily wraps up the debate for LPGA Player of the Year. Ben, take it away.
Okay. Shout out to the Giants and Jets, who both blow like the wind on 12 at Augusta. Looks like Aaron will be able to teach Danny Dimes plenty of technique this offseason. I got to be completely honest with you. I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired about the New York sports teams. When it's football, I think, it's just like,
joke.
It's awful. And now they're bringing in the Italian. It's just Tommy Colcutt's baby. He's going to be just throwing dimes to Malik Neighbors. And I couldn't even name you another pass catcher on that team.
This team will absolutely be the absolute death of me. And it's amazing how the Giants and Jets are both now in the hunt for a quarterback. The year after a loaded quarterback draft class. It's the most on-brand thing of all time.
Draft class for quarterbacks is not any good.
No, I'm saying the year after a loaded quarterback class, they're now on the hunt for a quarterback, which is absolutely...
This year is not even a good year for quarterbacks.
It's horrible.
It's awful. Other than Shador, who I think will be very good. No, I think he'll be very good.
I want Cam Ward, and if Shador Sanders is a Giant, I'm going to riot.
Well, you say a lot of stupid things.
It's not going to end well.
I also want to shout out the Dallas Cowboys, because not only is their season falling apart, because they're 3-6, down 17-7 to the Houston Texans, which is, by the way, one of the most ridiculous games that I've watched thus far. They just had a penalty on a kickoff. Like, what is going on? A piece of their stadium, the roof of their stadium.
I saw this.
So literally, the Dallas Cowboys are falling apart, which I love to see.
Jerry's world is falling at the seams. I love it. Ben, we have one last week to get it right. One more week to make your way into the top 125 as Wesley Bryan is the man on the bubble. Can he do it? Can Joel Damon go from 124 in? Can Sam Ryder, who had a great week last week, and Zach Blair finish in the top 125? Can Danny Berger on the outside looking in make a move? The RSM Classic this week is the final event of the FedEx Fall. Ben, I have to go and grab something real quick from my front door. Give me 3 names while I'm away that you are looking out for that need to have the week of their lives, whether they be on the inside needing a good week, on the outside looking in, or in the way out there who need a solid run. Maybe even a guy like, I don't know, Kevin Kisner, who is a local to the area, might have an insane week, might somehow get conditional status. Who knows? What do you think?
Yeah, look, we have a lot of pretty serious storylines going into this week. I mean, look, obviously Wesley Bryan, he's the bubble boy right now, 125 on the money list. This is for him. A guy like Daniel Berger, that's another one. A guy like, I mean, you could go down the list. Matt Kuchar is another guy. I know he's higher up. Closer to the top. You have a lot of guys here. It's not, look, this being the event that it is, it's not the strongest field in the world. There's a reason why Ludwig Oberg is at plus 800 to win. But at the end of the day, you have a lot of guys like Carson Young and Nick Hardy, Henrik Norlander. You have a lot of guys who are really in need of a good week. Even a Zach Johnson, another guy. Wait, I thought you were leaving to go get something.
Yeah, I just got it.
Even a guy like Zach Johnson, he really needs a good week this week. I don't even know if he's inside the top. I think maybe he's in the top 150. Maybe.
No, he's out there.
So you have a lot of older guys who really are in need of a good week. And you want to know something wild? Jason Duffner isn't even in this event. He had to Monday qualify, and he finished last in the Monday qualifier. How nuts is that?
Horrible.
Wow. What a race.
Speaking of which, let's look up who our Monday qualifiers were, because I'm very much curious as to what is happening here. PGA Tour. Where are you? Where can I find you? unless it's still happening.
No, it's not. Go to Georgia PGA.
Here we go. I found it. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that was the pre-qualifying.
All right, you went to college. You can do it. You can do it. You'll be fine.
Was it only a pre-qualifying?
No, Steve, it's the first one. It goes the Monday queue and then in an indentation. You can do it. Are you really gonna make me look this up?
No, I think I have it.
Well, I just got it. Okay, here we go.
Let me know that I'm reading the right thing before I make a fool of myself.
RSM Open Qualifier, November 18th, Brunswick Country Club.
All right, yes. So I'm not crazy. All right, sweet.
Anyway.
Wait. Didn't you mention Aaron Loop?
Yep, I know.
Look at that.
Yeah, poor guy.
Marcus Bird. Do you remember when I was supposed to interview him and then he ghosted me? That was funny.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Marcus Bird's in. B. McShay is in. R. Davenport in. And then we had W. Kennerly and D. Doyle. Both won their respective playoffs. It looks like. Wait, no, I just said too many players.
No, you're right. So it's Drew Doyle, William Kennerly, Julian Surrey, and Andrew Loop make it in on the make it into the playoff, make it into the qualifying.
No, Julian Surrey's not in because two guys made the two on number 5 on the 5th playoff hole, and Julian made a 3, so he's not in.
Well, it's the top 4 guys.
Yeah, but Surrey's not in because you had Bird, McShay, Davenport. They were all in already because Bird birdied 1.
Okay.
McShay and Davenport birdied 8, which is a par 3.
Oh, all right. You're right. Right.
And Andrew Loop made a bogey while the other 3 guys, Surrey, Kennerly, and Doyle, made par. So Loop was out. And then they went back to 8, which is the par 3. Kennerly, Surrey, and Doyle all made 3. And then Doyle and Kennerly both made 2, while Surrey made 3. So that's 5 guys. I don't know if they're going back tomorrow.
They might be, but there's only 4 qualifiers. So, yeah. So you're right. So they still need a 4th guy. Anyhow, the whole point why I was looking it up to see if there was anybody else who had to try at Monday queue into the event. But as it stands, there is nobody else who's like on that cut line. Did you already say your names?
What?
That you're looking at this week?
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't really
Sweet.
prepared to see that, so I just kind of listed a bunch of people I thought were interesting, kind of.
Yeah, no, you're all good. I mean, it's an easy answer to say Joel Damon and Wesley Bryan. Obviously, both are fighting for a lot to stick around, but also again, like guys on the inside looking out. Sam Ryder had to battle his way into the top 125 the last 3 weeks. Finally got in. Ryan Fox could use a really good week. You got to realize the difference between the guy on 125 at 404 points and the guy at 150 is only about 100 points. That's about a 20 spot gap. If you don't finish in the top 20 and someone else does, you very well could see yourself out of the race. Vince Whaley, Chad Ramey, Nate Lashley, Ryan Fox is a really good player who doesn't get a lot of credit because he too splits his time between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. On the outside though, Danny Berger, like we had been saying for a while, has been fighting his medical exemption. He's now on the block here, needs to be able to get in and maintain his tour card. I'm actually really interested, like you had mentioned Zach Johnson. A name similar is Gary Woodland. I believe he still is exempt, but at the same time is currently sitting on the outside of the 150 mark, could get additional exemptions because I believe he's playing on. Did he win 2 years ago or he won last year?
Who?
Gary Woodland.
I don't think it was last year. But he had the brain surgery.
Yeah. All right. So it was 2 years ago. So he does still need to earn conditional status. He is sitting right now.
He probably has like a major medical,
True. Okay.
or at least a minor. I would hope it was a major.
Lonzo Griffin at 158. And another name that stands out. Webb Simpson's 160. Zach Johnson's is 162. So yeah, there's a lot of names that I could really use a big boost. Even like Cameron Champ, 174 is in striking distance of conditional status. Scott Stallings at 183. Like there are guys here who could definitely make a push into 150. But for the really easy answer for me, guys who need to get in the 125 range, Taylor Montgomery at 137, Carl Yuan at 134, and the guys that are right there on the line, Danny Berger, Wesley Bryan, and Joel Damon are just the easy ones on my list. With that being said, we have one more break. On the other side, we're going to give you our beer money picks for the final week of the fall swing. We'll see if I can get some more ground covered on Ben as we wrap up the fall events. We'll be right back.
What's going on, everybody? This episode of the Get in the Hole podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Acorn Hills. And as the great Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, the creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. Acorn Hills Company would like to add, it is what one does with that acorn that creates a better tomorrow, to the end of that quote. Nate, amazing guy. It was awesome meeting Nate when we first brought Acorn Hills on board and they got on board with us. The founder of Acorn Hills puts ink to the paper of this story with a vision he saw for a better tomorrow through clothing. As an outdoorsman himself, Nate set out to combine his two passions, looking good and the great outdoors, whatever that activity may be, by providing things such as biodegradable packaging and plantable clothing tags, which, if you haven't heard, are basically the coolest idea ever. We pay homage to our Acorn logo by practicing what we preach. Along with this, Acorn Hills focuses on giving back to its community by taking the initiative to help revitalize forests and areas of land that fill this great place we call Earth. With a percentage of sales donated to charities and organizations such as the National Forest Foundation and others that align with these goals, we create this better tomorrow. People have asked, why choose clothing? It's simple, really. When you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good. We just help you get there. Although Nate may have been alone when he started this, our roots now run very deep. You'll never look at acorns the same way again, huh? You're welcome. You guys can go to acornhillsco.com. Check out all the awesome apparel and merchandise they have available to you. And when you go to checkout, use code GITH15. That's GITH15 for 15% off your next order from our friends at Acorn Hills. And look your best from the ground up. Now, let's get back into the episode.
It's time for some beer money brought to you by Kenwood Beer. You might be asking yourself, who is Kenny? Well, he's not only the great tailback for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he is the best light beer in the country. He's better than Bud Light. He's better than Michelob, and I'll tell you this much. If Kenwood got sponsored by the PGA Tour, we'd be having a field day at some events. The best light beer imaginable, only 110 calories and 8 grams of carbs. You might say it's the best light beer you've ever had, but believe me, we'll tell you it's just the original and the one that you cannot beat. Use the Kenny Tracker and go to kenwoodbeer.com. Find yourselves some of the best light beer imaginable, now available in Delaware, as well as Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, and beyond. Must be 21 years or older to drink, and please drink responsibly. Ben, we start off with you for a top 20 pick at the RSM. Who you got? Bring it home.
Your top 20 pick has me mind blown. Adam had one for a top 20.
Is it really that mind blowing?
Yeah, it's Kevin Kisner.
It is Kevin Kisner. Well, doesn't he live here?
That means nothing. You know how many times Jonathan Bird played this event? He misses the cut all the time, and he lives there. Same with Zach. He's missed the cut there before. That means absolutely nothing.
Kevin Kisner, I think, has his best results in his entire career at the Wyndham Championship here and somewhere else, and I don't remember the other spot. I saw someone post about how he has Kevin Kisner at 300-1 for a really good bet here, and I'm going to tail it. I'm going to trust him. I think it's a good play here. I'm going to go with Kevin Kisner. Your top 10 pick.
This guy was kind of far down on the odds boards. I'm going to look. I just want to look just to see how he was. Yeah, I mean, look, this guy was kind of far down there. I'm going to go with almost said Luke Clinton. I'm going to go with Austin Eckroat for top 10.
Former winner from here in the fall. I'm going to go with JT Poston, another winner from the fall swing. Won the Shriners in stylish fashion. Jumped himself up into the signature events side of things. According to my stats that I have here, he ranks 4th in the field in most categories that you could jump in on, particularly the approach play, which is going to be huge here at the RSM. So I'll take JT Poston, top 10. Your top 5, who you got?
Top 5, I'm going to be a little bit safe here, as safe as you could be for top 25. Brian Harmon. I think he would have a good week this week. I feel like his game, look, it's more of a links. This course, I played it. There's 2 courses they play. It's more of a links style course. And so the wind can definitely be a factor. And so I think it'll be interesting to see. But Open champion, going to a windy place, and I believe he's played a ton. So, yeah, it could be interesting.
Top 5 for me. I'm going to go putting contest, just like most events. The RSM is no exception to this, but also with the better fields, putting is going to become a premium. So why not take the best putter in the field this week? I'm going to go with Denny McCarthy. Might be an even safer pick than Brian Harmon, but Denny's been on absolute fire, at least in his last 36 rounds of golf, dating back to early September. I like Denny for a top 5. Your gimme pick this week.
I mean, this should just go without saying. I'm going to go with Wesley Bryan for the top 25. Yeah, doing a good job. Bubble Boy, I'm anticipating a good week for Wesley. He finished his top 25. He's definitely has his card locked.
He's locked in.
So, yeah, come on, Wesley.
One
more week.
Dance with the guy who got you there. I'm going to go a little bit outside the box. Top 30 finish. Surprisingly, actually ranks top 10 in almost every stat. Putting, strokes gained tee to green, has been a Corn Ferry Tour staple. Is now on the PGA Tour. Has been not necessarily lighting up the stat sheet, but a handful of top 20s in his last 5 events. I'm going to go with Jacob Bridgman for a top 30 finish at plus 300. A crazy pick there. Your winner of the RSM before we get going.
I'm going to go a little bit out of left field. I'm going to go with someone who's plus 3,000 to win this week. There is incredible value here, Steve. Matt Wallace to win this tournament. I guarantee he's going to win this week. I'm telling you.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm going to actually give you a couple of things because this is the one event that I actually enjoy betting on. Because the field really is wide open. If I had to give you picks for guys who are at really any position live to win, I think Garrett Higo at 200-1, Sam Ryder at 150-1. I got Mark Hubbard at a 66-1 card, Sepp Straka 45-1. First time we're seeing him since August, and Siwoo Kim 25-1. Haven't seen him since the President's Cup, but there's one guy who stands out amongst the rest. You might call it a layup or a gimme at this point, but the number one guy on the odds board is by far better than everyone else here, and actually has a history of playing at this golf course, playing in the SEC back in college. I'm going to go with Ludwig Åberg to win the RSM Classic, a huge boost to get him going as he gets ready for the DP World Tour end of calendar as they restart again, and of course, come January once he goes to Kapalua as a recent champion. Ben, final thoughts before we hit the road.
Well, Texas Tech is not an SEC team, right?
I'm thinking of A&M. Anyways, he does have history playing here, though. That's the one thing I do know.
He won here last year.
Yeah. I hope so.
Anyway,
it's a pretty good resume, right?
No, it's a very good resume, but I think repeat champs. I try to stay away from repeat champs. They've bitten me in the ass before. So there's the weirdest commercial on right now. Dear God.
What's the score of that putrid Dallas game?
17-10. Houston's winning. It's really not a good game.
How's Rico Dowdle doing, my dude?
I don't know, but Joe Mixon was running wild. He has 2 touchdowns.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
He's still so good at football.
He really is. All right, that's going to do it for us here. Getting the whole episode 181. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on social medias and, of course, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like, follow, leave some comments on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Getting the Whole Pod. And be sure to follow and to subscribe to the main pod, Underground Sports PHI, on YouTube. Get us to 1,000 followers and subscribers, and continue to get us monetizing this awesome page. Lots of really good stuff to come as we end the fall swing this week. We get into the holidays right around the corner. It's wedding season. It's a really exciting time out here for all of us. We are going to keep it rolling every single week until the cows come home. Don't go anywhere. We are going to come back next week with another great show and hopefully some other great news happening in the world of the PGA. For Ben Pirro, I'm Steve McAvoy. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the golf, and let's go Wesley Bryan. Get us that tour card. We need that. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!